Hello, my dear students, good morning. Students, in this lecture, we would like to read the last two stanzas of this poem, Keeping Quiet. So let's start learning the next stanza, stanza number 6. And this the stanza starts with the word if. If we were not so single-minded, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. What do you mean? Here, in this stanza or through this stanza, the poet wants to tell us that we all human beings are single-minded, as we always think about our day-to-day activities. We always keep ourselves fully busy with the regular course of activities. We never want to take rest in our lives. So the poet says, if we human beings don't change this the poor mentality of working regularly, achieving the goals of our life, achieving the goals of our lives, fulfilling the dreams, realizing the dreams. How can it be possible that we can think of the other part of our life? It is totally impossible. That's why the main signal through these lines is to convey a message that we all human beings should give up the idea of working continuously. We all human beings should give up the theory of achieving the aims and dreams every time. We should also give some time to our life. We should also give some time to our nearest and dearest. We should also give some time to the people who always look at us for help. If we don't do so, it means it is very clear, because we think that if we stop our works, our achievements, our dreams, our goals of lives will never be completed, and we would feel so much sorrow in our mind, because we think that death can meet us any moment. So with the fear of death, we always keep ourselves busy. We always keep ourselves busy with all the works. So the poet is not in favor of this all. So now I would like to write here the explanation in detail for you so that you can read it out. Okay, okay, students, let me explain the stanza number 6 explanation. Through these lines, as I have already explained it, through these lines, the poet hints that we human beings are single-minded. We are always busy in achieving the goals and targets of our lives, or lives. We never stop. We never stop to evaluate or examine examine the consequences means results of our day to day activities. We we think that we think that we think that we think that if we stop working a while for a while, we will be lagged behind in the competition by others, and thus remain busy every time. The poet does not regard this. The poor and sick mentality of all human beings, and he therefore suggests that we should not be a single minded persons, and never be afraid of death. Instead, we all should give some time to ourselves and those others too who are fully dependent on us. Dear students, I would like to re-explain it all the lines for your better understanding. Through these lines, the poet hints that we human beings are single-minded because we always think about our own works. We never think about others. We always think about our own works, our day-to-day activities. We never think about the results of the continuous working. We never think about the results of the continuous working and the results of not taking rests. We are always busy in achieving the goals and targets of our lives. It is also clear. We never stop to evaluate or examine the consequences and results of our day-to-day activities. We think that if we stop working for a while, we will be lagged behind in the competition by others and thus remain busy every time. The poet does not regard this the poor and sick mentality of all human beings, and he therefore suggests that we should not be single-minded persons. We should not be single-minded person and never be afraid of death. Instead, we all should give some time to ourselves and those others too who are fully dependent on us. So now, dear students, just explanation to the last stanza here. Explanation, explanation, explanation to stanza, stanza number 7. Very important stanza, very important lines. Here the poetic device is alliteration. Okay. In this stanza we would like to take the poetic device here. What is the poetic device here? Okay, I tell you here. We were not. Alliteration. Poetic device is alliteration. We were, and the poetic device is alliteration. alliteration. Okay, alliteration. Poetic device, alliteration. Okay, understood? So now let's start getting the explanation of this last stanza. The poet gives a live example of earth, of the earth which teaches us a good lesson of life. Okay, as everything on the surface, or you may say on the face of earth looks dried and burnt in the winter days, the same starts looking very lovely with a new life after a short interval or after a short change in the season. So it is clear that if we take rest like the earth, we can also recharge and refresh our lost and exhausted energies in the course of time and feel better for the rest part of activities. Dear students, in the last part, again the poet urges that we all should enjoy the silence till he completes his counting up to 12, and then he will depart from there. The poet gives a live example of the earth, which teaches us a good lesson of life. As everything on the surface or on the face of the earth looks dried and burnt in the winter days, the same starts looking very lovely with a new life after short interval or short change in the mood of the season in the season. So you know it very well, when the season gets changed, so everything also looks totally changed. Everything also seems to have a big change in their overall conditions. It is clear that if we take rest like the earth, we can also recharge and refresh our lost and exhausted energies, in the course of time, and feel better for the rest period or part of activities. Again the poet urges in the last two lines, again the poet urges that we all should enjoy the silence till he completes his counting up to 12 and then he will depart from there. So now here the poem ends, and I think you would like to revise the poem thoroughly, kindly getting help of these all explanations. Stanza by stanza explanations have been given to you. So now it is your duty whether you take these all words positively or not. And so extended explanation can hardly be achieved by you, can hardly be got by you. So I think now it all depends on your mentality, whether you take these the sentences as explained by me very positively or you ignore them. It is your choice, matter of choice. Okay, kindly note them down also in your fair notebook. Okay, in this last stanza the poetic device stands for a poetic device. Okay, because here is the word dead and alive. So poetic device, dead and alive. So one time again, in the first or two, maybe in the second stanza, I had already told you, when we find the opposite words in different two lines, it becomes the part of antithesis. Okay, so this is the figure of speech, antithesis here, in the last stanza, this stanza. Perhaps the earth can teach us when everything seems dead. So here the word is dead and here the word is alive. So I told you, मैंने आपको पहले बताया था कि यदि किसी लाइन में, एक लाइन में जैसे डेड आ रहा है और उससे अगली लाइन में अलाइव आ रहा है, दोनों अपोजिट हो गए कि नहीं हो गए. जब भी कभी किन्हीं दो लाइन्स में कोई दो अपोजिट वर्ड इस प्रकार से मिलते हैं तो उसको क्या बोलते हैं, एंटीथेसिस. और एंटीथेसिस का लिटरली मीनिंग होता है अपोजिट. ओके, थैंक यू.